So I've put about, I don't know, 500-600 miles in the car since putting the Powerhouse Racing dual pump setup in the car. And for the most part, it's been good. The one problem I've run into is, and I found this on my first road trip. Luckily, I wasn't stranded, but the pickup is essentially higher off the bottom of the tank than the original pickup was. And I was hopeful that the difference would be negligible, but it's not. I found essentially when the pump is, starting to kind of cut out, and I can, feel just like you're running out of gas, the pickup is out of fuel, I'm only able to pump in about 15 gallons of fuel. So that's meaningful when you, in my opinion, when you have an 18 plus gallon tank. And no, if I was running the car hard, that really wouldn't be an issue. I wouldn't want to be getting down that low anyway. But for road trips, this car is a street car. I'm just not happy with that. I want the additional capacity of the tank. I mean, to give you on, E85, that's about, for me, and I ran 2 tanks to just double check this all the way down, and that's about 230 miles on E85 in this car with a fair, with highway driving. So it's not a lot of range, and the great thing is I contacted Powerhouse Racing about it, and they were like, well, you can, lower the pumps. And so that's what I'm going to do. The challenge is with those kind of, trim to fit hoses that they send you, I wouldn't have enough length. And they were, super helpful. Shipped me out a box with the new hoses and the clamps for those hoses. So going to go ahead and pull the tank out of the car. Pull the hanger out of the tank and put it up on the workbench and adjust the height. I'll do a better, I could tell whenever I installed it. I didn't really measure anything when I installed it. I just pushed the pumps as far up into the hanger as they would go. I'm going to pull them down a little bit more, but I'll take some measurements of the stock hanger, compare and make sure that I'm very much within a pretty close tolerance of what that is, and that should get me the pickup back where I want it, and get me the extra 3 gallons of fuel, 3+ gallons of fuel that I was missing with the setup as it is. So here we go. So here it is with the pumps pulled out. Everything inside as far as the wiring looks fine. But the Aristo pump sitting right here, I'll try to put it kind of side by side in order to kind of want the gaskets at the same level. And you can see the pickup would come out of that basket kind of straight at the camera here. So relative height-wise, you can see that there's probably anywhere from an inch to a ½ inch difference in pickup location for these pumps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull those pumps, as far as relative here, up further away from the pickups there, near the hat portion. In order to do that, I'm going to have to snap those clamps off and reposition the pumps and cut some new hose to length. But anyway, there's a comparison. For those of you that are doing this, I'd recommend that you take the time to go ahead and measure. This does make a material difference. Okay, so I did some measurements, and about 168.5 millimeters is what I was able to piece together. I had to take a couple of different measurements because I only have a 150 millimeter caliper there. But from the seal to what I would call like the bottom of the mouth on this, so more or less where that ring is, where the sock fits onto the bottom of the filter, it would actually go, of course, this way, stick out like so on the stock housing. 168.5 millimeters from that inlet on the sock filter down here to the seal. And so I made the same adjustment here. And so this is the appropriate position. Now remember, I had it initially all the way snugged all the way down here. So, you know, it's a good bit different now than it was before. Let's see if I can grab a quick measurement. I've locked the caliper. Just a minute. There we go. So we're about 23 millimeters, maybe a little less. Let me see if I can pull that down. 21 millimeters of gap between where it's like 20.5 millimeters from where the top surface here of the little fitting would meet the raised lip there on the pump body. So, you know, a good thumb's width of fuel. I'm surprised it makes that much difference, but it certainly seems to. That's the only thing I can rationalize. My return tube, you know, this is just the return, which spits it back out into the tank, kind of pointed away from the pickup. The factory siphon was attached right here with no damage. And really, I think these cars run out of fuel more around a half tank. It wouldn't have been able to pull, you know, 14-15 gallons out if it was only pulling out of the driver's side of the tank, so left side of the tank. So I think that's all working fine. And so the only thing I can surmise is that the pickup was just that high and there's that much fuel that rests down there in the tank. Pulling these off was easier once I kind of got the hang of it. I've never had to remove this style of clamp before, so you can see my journey. Kind of some of them were a little more straightforward than others. The thing that worked best is just to try to separate these hooks that, you know, when they're in place these little loops with the hooks. So separate those two and then you can bend them apart. This hose had to very carefully use an X-Acto knife to split it, but you need to make especially care that you don't damage your pump fitting. You know, you don't want to slice into that when you're going along. You could end up with a pressure, you know, a crack, which would affect your pressure and the ability to effectively pull fluid. So you don't want to nick those. But otherwise, I put a couple nicks on the otherwise nicely finished unit here. One thing I don't remember noticing whenever I was putting this in is how much wobble there was in the stem that comes up from the base. I checked these 3 bolts here. They're all still well torqued. I thought about taking them out, but I decided otherwise because I've got this this connection right here is over the top of it, and I didn't want to disconnect that for fear of making a leak. It probably doesn't matter, but like I said, I don't remember it having the looseness that it has now, so I'm not sure if the pump's running loosen that up or if I just don't remember correctly. But all right, looks like I'm ready to put it back together, drop it back in the tank. All right, so here we are ready to go back in the tank. I've got the float reattached, got my wires kind of bundled, zip tied together. Got my grounds reconnected down here. Obviously the pumps are installed, so clamps good and tight, top and bottom, and I didn't take off my, I don't know what you call this, the vent hose that sprays fuel back into the primary tank so that it can siphon out of this side, which comes from the saddle tank on the right side of the car. And so at full, kind of, this would represent full. As the fuel decreases, this represents empty. So you can kind of see where we are. It seems really close to the pickup level, honestly. So I don't know that's good, if that's about right. But anyway, we've got quite a bit more space here than we had before. This should allow me to get more fuel out of the tank. Just for the sake of curiosity, I measured tank depth at 194 millimeters, give or take. And I was targeting just under 170, 168, 169 as far as these pickups. So 10, 15 millimeters off the bottom of the tank would be where that would be, which should be very much in line with the stock hanger. That's the stock Aristo hanger, which would be the same as the stock GS hanger as far as the pickup's concerned. All right, so I'll put it back in and see how we go. All right, so I got the Powerhouse Racing fuel hanger reinstalled. Over total time overall, probably about 3 hours. I don't work that fast, and try to be careful to avoid making mistakes. But takes a minute to get the pump in, out, and then back in, just because you're working with all the wires and the routing process, etc., and then tearing the pump assembly down and putting it back together. It just takes some time. So save yourself a few hours of hassle and kind of get that alignment right the first time. And otherwise, I think you'll be really happy with the product. I have been. Having the two pumps is a game changer in terms of the stability of the fuel and the ability to run a little bit more boost, and just increase power levels from where I was. So really happy with it, and hopefully this will be the ticket to getting the majority of the fuel out of the tank. More or less just taking it back to kind of what it was as far as stock, in terms of the amount of fuel that I can run per tank. So anyway, thanks for watching. Good luck.